Hey gang, Sam here. In this episode of GarageCast, we talked to Hans Roelants, the GM of international retail for Sea Ray and Boston Whaler. He's got a massive territory over in Europe, and we really deconstructed the Dusseldorf Boat Show and had some great advice for when the economy and the market and the politics maybe aren't going your way, how to really succeed. So great conversation with Hans. Enjoy this episode of GarageCast.
This is a show for anybody that has something that they want to say. It's going to be full of people with a lot of energy, CEOs, OEMs, vendors.
Best practice ideas in this industry and of neighboring industries.
We're talking to people that are on the cutting edge of processes, management.
Serial entrepreneurs, authors. We really have a feast of all different types of senior level people.
A cornucopia, as it were.
A plethora, maybe. Grab a pen, grab a cup of coffee, and have a seat. Start writing. This is GarageCast.
GarageCast. Welcome to GarageCast. We're going across the pond today.
We are. I'm excited about this one.
A long way across the pond, going across the Atlantic to Europe.
8 hours ahead. That's where our guest sits right now. We're early morning, Tony, 7 a.m. podcasting.
True story. He's had a beer in hand for at least a couple hours.
Well, I just didn't go to bed, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah. Oh, you met our guest. Oh,
yeah.
Which also appropriate for the record.
So Dantzler showed his cards. He hasn't been to bed, had a beer in hand, and our guest Hans has probably had a beer in hand since noon. I think they just do business in the afternoon with beer in hand over there, especially Belgium.
Do they actually work in the afternoon over there? I think they just watch bike races and call it a day.
So we have, Sam, why don't you kind of intro how you met Hans, and then I'll kind of give an intro to who he is, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Our guest is, I had the privilege, and I've said it on this podcast, to go across the pond to the Dusseldorf Boat Show, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Rich Regal, who we do a lot of work with here at Sea Ray, his counterpart over in Europe is Hans Roelants, who is our guest, and I'm excited to have him on this podcast. So I met him when we went over there. We had a little pre-call to work. I had the opportunity to work with his team before their boat show and do a little bit of training and really experience what that boat show is all about. And it's so unusual for, well, quite frankly, for our listening base out there that doesn't go to a boat show or hasn't been to a boat show. And then for those of our marine dealers who go to boat shows all the time, the Dusseldorf Boat Show is its own thing. And I really wanted Hans to come on and tell us a little bit about that. So that's kind of how we met.
So Hans Roelants, I'm going to let you say it after I do it, but you're the general manager of international retail. Hans, give me your full name so we don't butcher it again.
Hi Sam, hi Tony. My name is Hans Roelants. I know it's close. It's good. It's good. Yes.
I like it.
Let me put away my beer and then I'm all yours.
Yeah. I will say how we met each other was over a beer the first night I got there, so it seemed quite appropriate. Hans, tell us a little bit about, I think most of the dealers, certainly the marine dealers who are listening, know about Sea Ray, longtime brand. Lots of history there. We've obviously had Rich Regal on the podcast with us before here in America, and now we have you on the podcast. So tell us a little bit about how you landed with Sea Ray, what got you to that point, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the other brands you may be overseeing.
Yeah, so I actually started my marine career in 2008. Remember, just before the big financial crisis. So that's when I entered. Oh yeah, so that's when I started with Mercury Marine in EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Africa, headquarters in Belgium. I started actually in the after sales and service department. So that was my first 4 or 5 years at Mercury Marine. And then I turned to general management, where I oversaw the Benelux, which is Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, and Germany. So those markets as a general manager, responsible for sales, service, and marketing operations, still for Mercury Marine. And then in 2018, 6-7 years ago, I went from what we call the engine business unit. I went to the boat business unit and joined the Sea Ray. First responsible, again, for EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And then slowly grow our territory, adding Latin America, Caribbean, and also Asia Pacific. And so actually we're managing with the team everything outside North America and Canada. So yeah.
Okay, there's Tony, you heard all that, right? There's a ton to unpack inside of that. So first of all, for our listener out there, Mercury Marine is a subset of Brunswick, as is Sea Ray. They're part of the same parent company. So that seems like that was an easy move for you. Is that a fair statement, Hans?
Yeah, that's correct. It's one big family. Sea Ray is a customer from Mercury Marine. That's where we do business with from our power packages. So yeah, it's we're very connected, which has a lot of advantages, of course, in terms of sales and production, OEM supply, but also after sales service and quality. So yeah, that was that's an easy switch.
That was an easy move, right? Okay, Tony, I'm going to let you talk to the countries because you're the world traveler here. But before we do, what other brands, Hans, are you responsible for outside of Sea Ray?
So outside of Sea Ray, we also manage Boston Whaler. And then very recently, the brand Navan, which is the new Brunswick brand that we manage for the same territory as Sea Ray. So three brands and a lot of countries.
We're definitely going to talk about Navon. I think that boat is cool. I think that segment is very cool. But for Boston Whaler, and I think anybody who's ever played on the water knows the brand Boston Whaler. How did that fit into your portfolio? How does that fit underneath the Brunswick family of dealers? And I guess my bigger question is, with all those countries over there in Europe, my perception is the Boston Whaler is great for the skiffs outside of Florida and for fishing and stuff like that. Does it fit in the European market as well?
It does. To your first question, what are the synergies with a brand like Sea Ray? It's the premium dealer network. It is, with all due respect for value brands, for other brands, but we share a high-level network. So that is actually the biggest synergy. Same way of doing business. So actually, that was the reason to merge. Distribution management for those two brands. Then to your second question, is Boston Whaler a brand for international? It absolutely is. We know it is positioned in the US as a fishing brand, offshore fishing, big game, but also the smaller boats. But in Europe, we try to give it an extra dimension as being the safest family boat, the safest boat to go out with your friends. The iconic brand, if you want a whaler, I mean, there's only one brand that is a center console. It's a whaler. It goes with super tenders as a super tender with big yachts. So it is very iconic. Of course, different volumes. But definitely, it is, like in the US, one of the most renowned brands, also internationally. So yeah, I'm very proud to represent that.
That's awesome. So you have quite a large territory over in the EU. What are the top 5 countries where you spend most of your time, and why are those producing 5 countries for your brands? Like, why are those the top producing brands?
It's an interesting question. So if you would ask me now the 5 countries, I would say Spain, Germany, Poland, Switzerland, and the Middle East, and all for different reasons. And it's interesting for the listeners that all these countries have different cultures, different languages, some even different currencies, different tax levels. So it's really mini worlds within one big market. For example, if you would look at Spain, it's one of the countries that in the financial crisis was really on the verge of tipping over and like Greece going bankrupt. It is now one of the strongest growing economies in Europe. Why? Because of ideal climate, great food, great people, not too expensive, cost of living is great. So a lot of people have second homes. And of course, you need a boat with a second home. Right?
Of course. Yeah. What about my third home? What do I need at my third home, Hans?
We can do RVs that are just something, Sam.
There you go.
Germany, volume market. Germany, 80 million people. A very wealthy country, a lot of infrastructure, people that a trailer market, so they trail around their boats. So for us, a very important market. And then maybe something that is a little bit unexpected, a market like Poland. So Poland is it's a huge country. It is a country that 25 years ago was still communist. And that is now really an emerging market where you see that those people, they are creating a new segment of people that make good money. There's a mentality they want to show that they make good money. So they have a one house, second house, they have a car, there's G-Class, and there's a lot of external things that they want to show that they're successful. And what a better way to show that you're successful than having a boat on the water. So there's a lot of developments, and it's a huge market becoming for us. So very interesting there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and let me jump in here because Tony teed up the right question, but my brain is still spinning at the fact that Hans, with Mercury Marine, you're playing EMEA, Middle East, Africa. You go in, then you're in with Benelux, you're in Belgium, Germany, Luxembourg. Now your 5 big territories are Spain, Germany, Poland, Switzerland, Middle East. That seems like the rest of the world to most of the people listening. Like, how does one guy oversee all of that? How many people on your team to help you with this territory?
I have a very small team. But a very multicultural, multi-language, I think. So we are actually only 7 people.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah,
7 awesome people, for the record, because I got to meet them all. They're super cool.
Them. You know
yes.
Them. All of them speak at least 3 languages, come out of different cultures, and that's what we have to, because it's every country is different, every part of the world is different, and that is the strength of our team to have so many, to be so flexible, and to be able to manage those different time zones. I mean, you're 7 o'clock in the morning. My customers in Australia, they're still sleeping, or they're gone to bed now. So we span a whole time zone. I think it's also for us, it's extremely interesting to be able to leverage all those different cultures and those different languages, different currencies, because it gives us, I think, a little bit more insight in how some markets work. You sometimes have to be more patient. Sometimes you have to be less patient. So it's really a very different way of managing all these different countries. And again, like you say, you need an awesome team to pull that off, because I can't do it. I can't do this alone.
Hey, Hans, in continuing, you went Spain, you went Germany, you have Poland, Switzerland, the Middle East. As an emerging market, lots of action going on in the Middle East. Where are you seeing your biggest growth? And obviously, it's in the sea. Lots of boats in the sea. There's not going to be lots of lake boating in the Middle East. Where are you seeing your segments there?
It's an interesting topic, Middle East. They used to be like 15 years ago. It was kind of it started to grow there. A lot of expats, a lot of, let's say, mid-sized boats, and a lot of yachts. I don't have to tell you, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. I mean, money came out of the tap. But 10 years ago, that came a little bit to a stop. Expats left. No much more interest in marine business. But I would say since the last 4 or 5 years, governments or local governments started to understand that their oil business was not for eternity. So all these countries, there are only a few that are really let's say, open enough to develop it. They understand that they need to develop tourism, they need to develop real estate, they need to develop their services over only oil production. And that is giving us an opportunity to say, hey, part of this tourism is boating, it's boat clubs, it's people starting to buy boats again. And you see now a lot of developments ongoing, new marinas, because that is They're also, if they decide tomorrow we're going to start a marina, they're going to start a marina. And 6 months later, the marina is operational. If they decide, it happens. It's a very exciting environment to do business in. So that is where we see now our opportunities. Of course, it's very low. These cultures are very special. So you need strong local partners. The dealers network there is key. It's the key to our success. We are lucky. I don't think it's about luck. It's about making the right partnerships, and we really have excellent partners over there that represent the brands, that are very active, that understand the opportunities. So for us, it's some exciting things going on in the Middle East.
Got it. Nice.
Boy, and I tell you, just in getting to meet the dealers who came to the Dusseldorf Boat Show that are part of the Sea Ray family, you do have an excellent group of dealers. They're exactly what you think, Tony. They're just like the kind of people that invite you into your home. In fact, I got a ton of invites if we want to go over there from several of them, but they really are very in tune with the partnership between OEM and dealer and how it all has to work. And I think it's far more contentious here in America than it is over there, and certainly in Germany where we were. So let's talk about Germany for a second. Let's talk about the Dusseldorf Boat Show. I've talked on this podcast about the size and scope of that boat show. It's called the world's largest indoor boat show, but buddy, you can't appreciate it until you see it. And so, I mean, the shock and awe of seeing all these massive yachts coming up the Rhine River and then being placed into, 3 months in advance, being placed in the proper spot. It's just absolutely unbelievable. But other than the obvious, Hans, why is this such an important show for you guys with all the territories you have? This is a big one. You call Germany a volume market. And so tell us a little bit about why you put so much emphasis on this.
Well, the strength of Düsseldorf is not only it is in one of our key markets, but moreover, it is the international boat show. And I looked up some numbers here prior to talking to you guys. So we have visitors out of 120 different countries. I mean, the whole world is visiting, and the numbers the results that they share, it's really German. It's correct, and it's no storytelling. So 120 countries in 16 exhibition halls, 1,500 exhibitors out of 67 countries. So it's the international aspect of that show that is so important for us. That is one thing. And the other thing for us, it's also it's a selling show. It's a little bit unlike other European shows, but for us, it's also we really have a great return on investment there. So those two things, the international aspect, being the fact the whole marine world is there. Even a guy like Sam Dantzler is visiting Dusseldorf Boat Show.
Even that guy. Even the low life of Sam Dantzler gets to go to that one, Tony.
I think he's going to come back. So it's like, Sam, it's like you say, if you haven't experienced it, it's very difficult to describe. You need 3 days to walk that show. It's unbelievable.
It's good. I tried to explain it to the team, and it's just, when you say 16 convention halls, I tried to explain it like if we've been to for our clients listening who've been to the Motorcycle Expo, AIM Expo, that one facility where we host 95% of the entire AIM Expo, that would be one of the 16 convention halls that Hans is talking about. It's breathtaking.
That is crazy.
Huh. So and yeah, we build up like Sam says. So the big yachts come in mid-December. Our team starts building up January 10. So it's 2 weeks working to build up the different stands. But you want to be there. That's where the people see you. That's where customers sees you. That's where the marine industry sees you, and that's where it's a great opportunity to make a great impression. And we have been moving away a little bit from a lot of small shows to identifying a couple of key shows in mainly Europe, Of which Dusseldorf is obviously the biggest one. You have the Cannes Boat Show in France, which I would compare with a Lauderdale show. So outside in the water, nice weather, palm trees, smaller scale though. And then we have the Genoa in Italy. But we started to focus on those three big ones. And that it turns out that this is the right decision that we took.
Got it. Let's switch gears a little bit here. You guys were up against some serious headwinds in Germany this year, politically speaking. What are those headwinds, and how did you navigate around those?
Well, it's not only Germany that saw these headwinds. We saw some in different countries elections coming up. Some political instability, governments that didn't decide on which direction to take. And I mean, we all know that reflects on the customer confidence. So that was really something that we have been seeing. Now, in the meantime, these elections, and if we talk Germany, have taken place. As we see it, as a strong government, strong leaders that really want to reinvest in economy, in infrastructure, in making that country healthy and that economy healthy again. So that is for us. Those were very, very good signs. On the other hand, Tony, you can only control what you can control, right? We need to do businesses in different environments. We can try to influence that. It's something that we can't. It's something that we don't. So we try to work within those circumstances. And how you try to navigate them, it is mainly talking a lot to your dealers, understanding your dealers, because at the end of the day, they are nearest to your customers. And the input from them is what helps us take the decisions, because a decision in Spain could be completely different than a decision in Germany, because the circumstances are different. And I think, or what we see is working with those dealers is then you always see opportunities popping up. We have now for Sea Ray, I mean, the dealers know we have the great new SDX series with the surf capability. This is something I would say it's not new in Europe. We have those hardcore surf brands like Nautique and Paragon and Malibu and Mastercraft. But the Cobalts and the Regals and the Chaparrals that offered those day boats with surf wakeability, those were not really here in Europe. Now, we took this opportunity to say, okay, this is what we're now going to bring to market. And we're going to convince first our dealers and then our customers to say, hey, this is new. This is going to make you successful, and this is going to stand out versus competitors. So right. That is one of those opportunities that we're taking. And we must also say that we're very proud with all the new products that Sea Ray came up with, the new SPX, the new SLX, the new SDX, the new Sun Dancers. I mean, there's all these products with the new Sea Ray DNA, which gives us a huge advantage versus competitors because they have been standing still. As we, in a constrained environment, we can come up with new products. And new always helps to enthusiasm customers, to drive customers to the stores. So that's a great thing to have.
Well, obviously, standing out against the other products out there, you said Dusseldorf was a selling boat show. So you guys outperformed where you thought you would be when you went into this thing. And correct me if I'm wrong, you forecasted lower unit sales from the year before because of some of political climates and the economic conditions. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement. Setting a target at shows or setting targets anyway, it's always, you have to be smart, right? It needs to be measurable, but it also needs to be attainable. So you want to grow. That's a fact. But you always look at, okay, what happened in the previous years at the show, and what is happening around us, what is happening in countries and economies. So yeah, we were very cautious in forecasting because we were still in that period when you just asked me the question, hey, all the headwinds and things like that. Turned out that we just outperformed competitors by far.
In America, Hans, we call that sandbagging. That's what we call that.
No,
that's what sales guys do. They sandbag and then they come ahead of the mark and they look like a hero. Just for the record.
Unless you sandbag too much, and then it looks like you don't know your market.
That's a fair statement. Tony, it was very funny to watch, the Keith Younger and Rich Regal talking to Hans about where's the number, where's the market, everything. Well, I don't know, right? And then you crushed it. Tell us how you crushed it at this boat show.
Well, actually, we didn't do much different than we always do. I mean,
that is not true.
All right. Okay, you got me there. So our strategy is when others go smaller, we go bigger, right? We want to, because we believe, first of all, we believe that boat shows continue to, they're an expensive investment. I think all you dealers know, everybody knows it's an expensive investment. And every year, the whole business reevaluates, is it a good investment, yes or no? Because it's always a big chunk of the budget, of the marketing budget that goes there. My team and we believe that it continues to be extremely important for us for several reasons. First of all, our dealerships in Europe are, let's say, relatively small dealerships, and there's none that has all the models in store. Okay, so if you want to see all the models from a brand, you need to go to a boat show. That's number one. Secondly, the people that are there, they invested some money to come there. It's just most of them, they're not just there to spend the day, right?
Sure.
They paid entrance. So those are walking leads. Those are all leads walking around. And then the third very important thing is the novelties that you show off with. Okay. And that is especially what we did this year. So we had the privilege to have the first SDX 270 Surf that was built in Europe on our stand. We gave it really a AAA location, showed the forward-facing drive, made it very accessible for the customers. And that vibe created around all that, that is making the show for us so successful. And then maybe I should not forget, we attend for all the brands, flips, MIPS, with the whole team. And what we have learned from our counterparts in the US is how extremely prepared that the dealers are coming to a show. And that is something where in the past we might have been a little bit more, let's say, sit back and wait to say, hey, yeah, well, we'll sell. But now we started to work, and we do this since a couple of years. We start working with our dealers in November. Okay, guys, be prepared. How many leads do you have? How many appointments do you have? And really focus on that and creating that. And you were there on the Friday evening. So everything comes together and people are motivated. They're excited. We give awards. We really pump everybody up. And then that flows into that 10-day show, where after day 8 we had to make new cardboards because those boats continued to add up the sales. And the bell. Ring the bell when you have a sale. It turns competitors completely crazy. Ring a bell. It is so much fun.
And for listeners, the cardboard was the scorecard that they were keeping track. Here's how many boats we think we're going to sell, all fit on one piece of cardboard, which was their big thing that they hung up for the team. They had to go with multiple pieces of cardboard and use the backs of them too, because they were selling so many dang boats. So take the win. That was a great event. 200,000 people going through the Dusseldorf Boat Show. Over those 16 facilities. It's absolutely amazing. So you can imagine with the boat on display, the new boats, all the hype, the bell, the music, and it's just an incredible place. You're really on the ether, if you will. Talk to us. One little thing before, Tony, I'll flip it right back to you, is Navon. You guys have a new brand called Navon that dovetails underneath Sea Ray. Tell us what Navon is. You actually sold a couple of them at the show, yeah?
Yep, absolutely. So Navan, like you said, is the new brand from Brunswick. It was launched in Cannes Boat Show, France, 2023. Sea Ray business unit took over in 24. It is, let's say, we play in the same segment as you guys probably know the Axopars and the Saxdors. So it's more an adventurous type of boat. It's what we call the X-bow, so with the straight bow. Yeah. Started, or actually originated out of the commuter style boats. So Nordic style boats developed from, they have the fjords where it's only like 5 miles to cross the fjord and you have to drive 3 days with the car. So they go a lot from A to B with their boats. So it's kind of a segment that 10 years ago with Axopar developed out of that commuter style boat. We launched that brand, so let's say end of 23, let's say 24, very successfully. Of course, the big advantage of us having Navan is that we have that parent company, which is Brunswick, with design teams, people that work on Sea Rays, Boston Whalers. So a lot of very skilled, very knowledgeable people, huge experience in that company. And that gives us, let's say, a head start. Although we are a little bit late to the party, but you see that now in wholesales and retail sales, we are really on target, and the brand is really appreciated by dealer network and customers. So it's very exciting.
It is really cool. You took the utilitarian of the center console fishing boat, and then, like Tony, if you think about when we were looking at those old Chris Crafts with the square nose on them, and you slap that on there, it's just a beautiful, beautiful boat.
Huh. Interesting.
Navan. Yeah.
Hey, Hans, let's talk a little bit about the value-added tax that you guys have over there. Kind of similar to the luxury tax, with Canada. Maybe similar, maybe not. Currencies, import taxes, and how those affect your customer base in Europe.
So the value-added tax it's a little bit more than a luxury tax. So actually, on all the products, or on most of the products and services in the different, and let's focus on Europe, right? Because Middle East and Africa and Australia, Latin America is different ball game. Let's focus on Europe. We have 27 countries in the EU. All these 27 countries have different VAT levels. They have different value-added taxes. And within every country, you have on different services and products, different percentages of those taxes. So it's really it's a mix of so many different taxes. But for us Europeans, it's normal. It's not a hurdle. It's so the value-added tax, which can be on food products 6%, on something else it can be 15%, on luxury products like our products, but also cars, stereo, computer, all these things, electronics, it's around 20%. So it's kind of you have a net price, and there's always this tax that we always include in that product. So we in Europe, we're very used to this. They differ a little bit from country to country, but it is not really impacting our customers. It's not impacting the way we do business. Now, that being said, of course, we just talked about, you mentioned the tariffs that have been implemented now from Europe to the US. That, of course, has an impact on our business. We monitor that from very close. I always say, if we're confronted with it, so are our competitors. Right. Yeah. So it's all about working with customers, working with dealers. Okay, how can we find a solution for, and then it's mainly for US built boats importation. How are we going to manage that towards the customer? Does it help? No. Does it prevent us from doing business? No. We just need to be more creative and work with the customers, and we'll make it. We'll make that work. We'll make that work. Yeah.
Well, so that's interesting. You may have just answered my next question, but I want to give you the opportunity to take a different slant on it, if you will. Obviously, you've heard about so much of the uncertainty going on in the U.S. market right now. We just had Bob Papajohn from Vancouver talking about what that 25% tax is doing to his business with the boats, with what is it, Tony? 85% of the boats that he has on his lot are coming in from the United States. But independent of the tariffs, just the uncertainty, you see it in the stock market right now. Is there any advice, coming off of these markets where you're performing well with uncertain economies and uncertain governments, anything you could tell our dealers and our listeners here in America that might be helpful?
Well, what we try to, and especially now what we try to do, and I mentioned it already, a boat show is, it's all walking leads. From people that think about buying a boat to people that have the money burning in their pocket and spend it. So what we try to emphasize with our dealers is to say, guys, there's no lead that you can ignore, even if it's a very, very fresh one. Yes, you have to manage, of course, first the hot leads and turn them into sales. But interesting, we were with a dealer yesterday here in Amsterdam, and he said, I can't remember how we came to it, but he said 85% of the actual sales I do in my dealership, those customers, the discussion started somewhere at a boat show. And that is I was actually surprised about the high number.
The big one.
But I think that is something we should not ignore, is how unimportant, it's not unimportant, it's not the right word, how fresh a lead can be, or how these people paid money, they showed interest. Somewhere, something is itching to buy a boat, and that is something that we should pay attention to and try to turn into a hard sale. So I think that is and especially now, it's a very important thing to do. Something else that we're trying to work with our dealers are, focus on what you can control. Focus on your region, your marine trade area. Who are your competitors? Outperform competition. If the cake gets smaller, make sure you get a bigger piece of the cake. And how can you do that? Is by outperforming your competitors and look around you. What is happening? Look for opportunities. We're, for example, putting a lot of focus on events, customer experiences. Where maybe when times are good and sales are easy, we put a little bit less emphasis on it. We see now that's really a great advantage if you have your customers as kind of joining your business, being your ambassadors, and helping you sell the boats. So I think those would be a couple of things to focus on.
Yeah, that's great advice. Having some of your best salespeople can be your existing customer base. So having them at events, it's like you have a whole nother sales team present. So
yes,
tell us a little bit about the forecast for the remainder of 25. What does that look like in the international boating market?
I think it will depend from brand to brand. For us, it's of course it's going to be an exciting year, mainly driven by new products where we can make the difference with our competitors. We're going to do a lot around that SDX Surf. We are on target and even a little bit above. And then, of course, the exciting of Navan signing up new dealers, participating in events, and seeing that retail sales grow. It's those things. So our success will be a lot supported by product. So that's
all the new
really
product.
great.
You're banking on that for the upswing.
Not only on that, but it's going to help us a lot. It's going to help us a lot. So, yep.
And is that a significant year-over-year increase you're looking at? You don't have to give me a number, but I'm just wondering what your thoughts are as far as the pulse.
No, I don't. No, I don't think we're looking at serious growth, but we do see growth, and then mainly, and I think all the brands see that the mix change that we see. People are let's say the 25 foot and up segment is less impacted by the increase of the cost of living than the value brands and the smaller boats, although they are extremely important for our overall business because we need people to stay into boating and to get into boating. But it's clear, I think, for the industry that we see a mix up, and that those 25 foot and up boats are less impacted. And of course, if you have a mix up, that offsets some loss in volume, but it helps you grow. So
good.
Yeah. Hans, as boating prices continue to escalate throughout COVID and beyond, are we outpricing the average buyer? We see this also in power sports with not only motorcycles, but side-by-sides. Are we starting to outprice our average Joe out there?
It's a challenge, Tony. That's for sure. We try to let's say the thing is that we as brands as Sea Ray, Whaler, and Navan, and that is without. I mean, we don't want to, certainly not want to be arrogant or whatever. We position us with premium products in a higher, let's say, customer base segment, where that impact is a little bit less. Again, for, like you call, the average customer, we need to make sure that we don't lose them, right? Because they are the ones that we try to move up and keep in that boating business. So we need to pay attention to it. Is it a challenge? It definitely is. Now, that being said, everything gets more expensive. If you see cars, the trend of cars, trend of other products, they also see this price increase. But that question or that remark, I think it also the fact that Brunswick, for example, runs the Freedom Boat Club is something that is helping us. People that in the beginning are maybe a little bit scared by increasing prices, they enter into a club, they get familiar with boating, and then the decision to buy that boat is maybe taking a little bit more easier. On the second-hand market, we see a little bit the effect from COVID, where people paid the highest price, because we as dealers or our dealers, our network, were able to sell the boats or the products at the best margins, at full margins. Of course, those couple of people that are now moving out, they bring their boat to the second-hand market, and they're of course disappointed because there's another sentiment and there's another dynamic in that second-hand market. But still, it was completely depleted during COVID time, so there's still some room to fill up some second-hand products. So in all, I think people digested now these increases, and it's part of day-to-day life.
Okay. Got it.
Well, and Tony and I talk about this all the time, as well as the whole team. It's just like we keep waiting on these interest rates. Oh, interest rates are causing the value buyer to not participate. And I'm like, well, is it the interest rate, or is it the fact that the boat pricing has gone through the roof, right? The value brands aren't value anymore. So, but
Yeah.
To be fair, maybe it's just a matter of getting accustomed to the new pricing. So you may be on point there. Hans, I really appreciate you staying around at work and talking to us over there. I just had one more question, which is, what are most dealers not talking about that they should be talking about? What's the one thing that is not coming up in your conversations with dealers that they're not thinking about?
It's a little bit different from I think from the economics that we talked about and marketing activities and sales activities, but something that we sometimes see as a concern and try to the discussion that we start with our customers is succession.
That's a great answer.
It's hey, I'm doing my business is great, everything's great, and so who's going to take over? Yeah, maybe my son or maybe my daughter, maybe, or what's your plan? And even though it's not that we want them to lay out that plan, but we want to plant that seed to start thinking about it, about what is the future of my business. And we see that in Europe throughout a lot of businesses, so not only the marine business, is that family businesses tend to forget oh, there's also an after me period. And it's a delicate subject, right? Because you're talking about me stopping or selling my business or giving it over to my family. It's maybe difficult to talk about, but it's crucial for the long-term success of your business. So that is something that we don't pretend to know it, and every business is different, but we want to plant that seed to tell them, hey, don't forget this. Start thinking about it. Maybe get some external advice. Talk to people, talk to peers, talk to whomever, but start thinking about it. And I think that is that doesn't always pop up spontaneously in discussions.
It can be awkward, right? So the question then, Hans, is it Carolina or Freddie from your team that's going to take your chair?
Hey, man, yeah, there you go. There you go. Okay, you planted that seed now.
I vote for either.
Hey, Hans, really appreciate you taking the time before you end your day here to spend some time with us and explain what's going on the other side of the world for us. So we appreciate you.
It was absolutely my pleasure, and I hope I brought some insights. I mean, we with the team, we travel a lot to the US because it's a much more, it's a larger market, maybe even a more mature market where for us, there's a lot to learn. There's great stuff to see. We work great with our teams, in the Sea Ray case with Rich Regal and his team. So it really has been a 1 + 1 = 3. So it's really great. That's really great.
Thank you, buddy.
Awesome.
We appreciate
thanks
you
so much. Yeah.
My pleasure.
For Hans Roelants and Sam Dantzler, I'm Tony Gonzalez. This has been GarageCast. Have a fantastic Tuesday, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.